Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on LouTube today. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also. And two, something different today? Well, kind of the same, but kind of different. Back with more 2018 college football team previews today. Two previews in this video, you tell by the title, Army and Navy. This comes as a request from Patreon member Herschel B. So Herschel, thank you for supporting the page, sir. I can't tell you how much it means to me for all of you guys that support the channel and the live shows and all that through the Patreon page. I really appreciate it. If you want to join up on the Patreon page, just click the first link in the description of this video. It'll take you there. You can get yourself signed up. Subscribe to this channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. Thumbs up the video if you're excited about the start of college football season. Or if you're excited about Army and Navy, maybe you're a vet, maybe you're active military, thumbs up this video. I'm going to do this one a little bit different than I've done all my other previews. If you've been watching the other previews, or really just this channel in general over the last couple of years, I don't do things straightforward like a lot of other people do when I do these prediction videos. I try to do them a little different. I try to make them entertaining. I'll make a few jokes here and there. I'll throw a few jabs at whatever team I'm previewing. I've said this a million times. I'll say it again. To me, trash talk is just a part of college football. They just go hand in hand. I don't mean anything by it. It's not personal. It just is what it is. Anyway, I'm not going to do that in this video. Not going to be taking any jabs, making any shots or jokes or anything about Army or Navy. But I do want to talk about Army and Navy for just a second before we get to these previews and predictions. I don't know what the percentage is of college football athletes who make it to the NFL, but I know it's really, really small. Now, obviously, a lot of college football players, that's their ultimate goal. That's their dream. That's their wish. That's what they're striving towards. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. The percentage that actually make it to the NFL, even on a practice team, is very, very small. It's got to be less than 1%. The percentage of Army and Navy players is way lower than that, right? And a lot of these players, that's not even their goal, okay? If you're a college football player for Georgia, the team I happen to be a fan of, or Alabama, or Ohio State, or Clemson, or Southern Cal, or Oklahoma, or Texas. You play for any of those teams, any team really, and you don't make it to the NFL, at least, hopefully, a lot of times, you end up with a college degree. You're able to go into the workforce with a really, really good, cushy job in most cases, and live a happy, productive, fruitful, safe life. It's really a no-lose situation. The kids at Army and Navy, they know they're not playing in the NFL. Now, sure, every once in a while, you'll get a player come through one of these two schools who is so good, they're granted a waiver or a deferment to join the military after their college career. Because as you guys know, everyone that attends West Point or Navy or Air Force, any of these military schools, they join the military after their college, their time in college is up, whether they're a football player or not. So while most football players and college students in general are looking forward to graduation so that they can enter the workforce, start to, work on a family, a home, things that most people look forward to doing after college, football players at Army and Navy and the students at Army and Navy, they're looking forward to something totally different, right? A lot of them end up overseas. We're at war. I'm not, this isn't a political video, but the point is, and this is kind of rambling, and I'm not really good at these kinds of videos, which is why I don't do them that often. I'm better at, I'm really better at just talking trash about a team, but I just don't want to do that about Army and Navy. But these kids know they're not going to the NFL. They know in most cases they're not graduating and getting an office job working 9 to 5, making $100,000 a year. They're going to the desert, right? They're going to Afghanistan. They're going to Iraq. They're going to Korea. They're going to Germany, whatever the case may be. They're going on to a boat in the case of the guys from Navy. or a submarine, whatever. You get what I'm saying. I have nothing but the utmost absolute respect for anybody that chooses, and it is a choice here in this country right now anyway, to join the military. The courage, the dedication, the sacrifice that decision takes is honestly something that I cannot even comprehend or understand. I didn't have the courage to join the military. You know, I've obviously got a lot of friends, family that did join the military. I never had the courage to do it. So before I did this preview video on Army and Navy's football team, which is really insignificant compared to what these kids will be doing 2, 3, 4 years down the road from now, I wanted just to say that the best way I could, which is not very good. Like I said, I'm not good at these types of videos. I hope this is coming across okay. But I have nothing but respect for these players at Army and Navy, and not just the players, the students there too. Them doing what they're doing allows me to sit at home as a coward who didn't join the military and blab on YouTube nonstop for no apparent reason at all. So my hat's off, salute to everybody in the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, the Space Force coming soon. My hat's off to everybody that has what Uncle Lou doesn't have and has chosen to make a life for themselves in the United States military. Thank you. I appreciate you. Everybody appreciates you. And the most important thing I could hope and wish for Army and Navy's football season this year is that not a single one of those players suffers any type of injury. Obviously, I wish that for every player on every team at every level of every sport, not just football. But a special place in a lot of people's hearts for the Army and Navy football team. And this isn't a preview of Air Force. Air Force has a team too. Everything I've said obviously applies to them. To all of the military schools, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this preview video. All right, here we go, and we'll start with Army, and then we'll get to Navy. Again, I'm going to do this portion of the video a little bit differently too. Normally, I like to run through the rosters and highlight a couple of players on the offensive and defensive side of the ball for each team. I've made a conscious decision not to do that in this video for either Army or Navy. The military in general, obviously, is a team effort all the way around. The military in general, bigger than any one person. I mean, I know that's common sense, that goes without saying, but I don't want to highlight a couple of players on Army's team and then have people in the comment section asking or saying that I should have mentioned the other guy. I should just read the entire roster of both teams, honestly. And at the end of this video, I may just do that. But I don't want to single any players out. Like I said, I have nothing but respect for every single player on both of these teams. But with that being said, let's talk about a little bit about Army. Army had a great year last year. They went 10-3. Their losses were to Ohio State, Tulane, and North Texas. Obviously, Ohio State, a really good team. Tulane and North Texas, pretty good teams too. And then they won their bowl game, the Armed Forces Bowl against San Diego State. So 10-3, great year for Army. Can they repeat that this year? That's a great year for Army, 10 wins. Here's the schedule. We'll take a look at it, and we'll see if they can find a way to get back to 10 wins or more this year. Now, they start out week 1 on the road at Duke. I think Army can win this game. I know Duke's a Power 5 team. I like their coach, Cutcliffe. Cutcliffe, one of those guys, seems to get the absolute most out of limited talent, right? Duke has really strict enrollment guidelines that you have to meet in terms of academics and things like that. They're a lot like Stanford or in that way, and Vanderbilt, some other teams too. Duke, not known as a football powerhouse. They don't recruit on the level of a Clemson, obviously, or a Miami or a Florida State or a lot of the other big name teams in the ACC or across the country. But Cutcliffe seems to get the absolute most of out of what he has. Not a very good year last year, though. I think Army goes on the road week 1 and gets a big win over a Power 5 team at Duke, starts the season off 1-0. Then you come home for a couple of games. Army takes on Liberty and then Hawaii. Again, 2 games that I think you can win. Liberty, I think you can win that game fairly easily. Hawaii, maybe a little bit of a contest. They had a down year last year too. I think you start 3-0 here at Duke, home against Liberty, home against Hawaii. 3 wins, well on your way to another great season. Bumping the road here week 4 at Oklahoma. Not very many people going to be expecting Army to compete with an Oklahoma. You got to play them there. I got to give Oklahoma the win there. No disrespect to Army, like I said. But being realistic here, this is a game Oklahoma should win without too much trouble. On the road at Buffalo, a team not a lot of people know that much about for obvious reasons. They're not a team that gets a lot of media hype or attention or anything like that. They're not in a Power 5 team. Buffalo is a really good team, though. I think Buffalo beats Army this year. That puts you at 3-2. Those are 2 tough back-to-back road games. I think you drop them both. But then you get a bye week, and that comes at a pretty good time after taking a couple of losses there. Come out of your bye week, you got to go on the road to San Jose State. I think you get a win there. I think you beat them, improve to 4-2. You come back home, you play Miami of Ohio. I think they beat you. You get them at home, and, every team loses a game or 2 that they're not supposed to lose, and every team wins a game or 2 they're not supposed to win. I can see a lot of people picking Army in this Miami of Ohio game, but I'm going with Miami of Ohio in that one. Then you go on the road at Eastern Michigan. I think you lose that one too. They were a pretty good team last year. You got to go on the road. So you lose 4 of 5 games here, sort of in the middle of your schedule. Then things get a little easier for you. You come back home, take on Air Force. Not going to say anything bad about Air Force. I just think Army happens to be a better team. I think Army gets the win over Air Force. So 1-0 against the military schools so far for Army. Another home game against Lafayette. Army should be able to win that game too. So you got your little win streak going here at 2 games. Then you play Colgate, another win, and your teeth should look pretty good after that game too, I would imagine. So a 3-game win streak. Then you have 2 bye weeks because you don't play the last week of the year, and then obviously you don't play in a conference championship week, the first weekend of December. And then you have the annual Army-Navy game, which is the 2nd Saturday of December, the week after all the other teams play their conference championship games. You play Navy. This will be a good game. It always is, or it seems like it anyway. I always watch this game. I love that this game is that week, by the way, because then you don't have to worry about, I love watching the Army-Navy game, but if this was the week before and I had to make a decision as a football fan of do I want to watch the SEC championship game or the ACC championship game, whatever, or Army-Navy, I feel like a lot of people would choose the championship games over the Army-Navy game. But with this game being the week after, I think a lot of people watch this game. So I think that I like that they do that, that they move it back a week. I'll wait and give a winner on this one at the end of the Navy preview. All right, next up, Navy. Now, going to do this the same way. Again, hats off to every single player on Navy's team. I'm not going to highlight any players offensively or defensively for Navy because really no one should be left out. They all deserve credit and recognition. Navy, not quite as good of a year as Army last year. Navy finished at 7-6, losing the last game of the year to Army. Close, though, 14-13, wasn't that the score? They went to a bowl, too, though, another military bowl. Yeah, the other one was the Armed Forces Bowl. This was the Military Bowl, and beat the absolute bejesus out of an ACC team, Virginia, 49-7. And Navy's record is a little misleading at 7. You look at it and you say, well, 7-6, not a very good team. Their biggest loss all year was 10 points. I think there was 2 games they lost by 10 points. Then they had a lot of 7-point games, 8-point games, 4- and 5-point games. So you're looking at a lot of 1 or 2 possession games here for Navy last year. If even 1 or 2 of those goes the other way, then they're sitting at 9-4 instead of 7-6, and then you say, well, that was a pretty good year. So again, a lot better team last year, Navy, than I think the record would indicate without going back and looking at the schedule like I did this morning. But let's throw up this year's schedule. We'll go through it game by game, just like we did the Army schedule. We'll see how many wins we can come up with here, and then I'll give a prediction at the end for the Army-Navy game. Let's see here. Is this the right one? Yeah. Week 1, you got to go on the road, a long road trip at Hawaii. But you know what? I think you beat them. I really do. A long road trip like this is usually a recipe for disaster, especially in college football, in the NFL even, really. If you look at West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast or vice versa, those teams tend to have a lower record when they have to travel that far than they do when they don't have to travel that far. But I think the discipline that comes along with Navy, being a military school, discipline, of course, at the top of the list of requirements to be in any sort of military service, I don't think the travel will affect Navy as much as it does other teams. And like I mentioned in the Army preview, Hawaii is just not that good of a team. I think Navy goes way on the road and starts the season off with a win at Hawaii. Then you come back home, play 2 games in a row, Memphis and Lehigh. I think Memphis beats you. Memphis not as good as they were when Justin Fuente was there. Of course, he's the head coach at Virginia Tech now. Was at Memphis before that, putting up 40 and 50 points a game. So Memphis not as good as they were then. You travel to Hawaii, play a game, got to travel back. Memphis, a pretty good team. I think you get the win at Hawaii, but I think all that travel catches up with you then at the Memphis game. And I just think they're a pretty good team. You catch a loss there, you're sitting at 1-1. Lehigh, win. You should beat them. That puts you at 2-1. Now you got to go on the road at SMU. This is sort of a toss-up game here. SMU, a hard team to figure out. I mean, they're not great. Better than they have been in years past, though. It's on the road. I think you get the win. I think you beat SMU on the road. That takes you to a bye week. Then you got to play at Air Force. Talked about them a little bit during the Army preview. I think you beat Air Force too. Rough year for Air Force, going 0-2 against the other service schools. You come back home, play Temple. I think you can beat Temple too. I got you sitting at 1 loss here. That would be great. If I'm being realistic, that would put you at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, 1 loss. 5-1. I think you're more likely to be 4-2 than you are 5-1, but I have you at 5-1 though, so we'll go with that. Houston, I think Houston probably beats you. And then home against Notre Dame, I think they probably beat you too. Notre Dame, obviously, a pretty good team this year. A lot of returning talent, especially on offense. I've done a Notre Dame preview. Don't need to get into all that again. Just think you're kind of outmatched against Notre Dame, although you do have a history of playing them pretty close. So it wouldn't surprise me if this was a close game, but I just think Notre Dame a little too much, and they get the win. Then you go on the road at Cincinnati. Almost couldn't read my writing. On the road at Cincinnati. I think you can win that game. Definitely not a gimme. It's on the road, but I'm going to give you a win there. Then you got to go to UCF. I know Scott Frost is gone, but some of the talent that he brought there remains. I don't think you can beat UCF on the road. I got to give them the win there. You come back home, play Tulsa. Now that one I do think you can win. So I'll give you a win against Tulsa, but then I think you lose on the road at Tulane, and then of course brings you to your final game of the season, which is played in Philadelphia, Army versus Navy. This is always a tough game to pick. I wish this game could end in a tie. 35-35 or something, and every team, every player on the offense plays really good. Every player on the defense plays good. No one gets injured. Unfortunately, it can't end that way. And I think I'm gonna have to go with Army again this year. They nudged you out last year. I'm gonna have to give the nod to them again. Honestly, it won't bother me if I'm wrong on this pick. There are no losers in the Army-Navy game, but for the purposes of these prediction videos, I feel like I have to pick a winner, so I'm going to give Army the nod. And that's going to do it. I know this video was boring for some people, maybe, compared to some of the other types of videos that I do, but Herschel from the Patreon page requested that I do a preview of Army-Navy, and I just didn't feel right doing the video the same way I do the other ones with the jokes and the jabs and the trash talking and stuff like that. So again, My hat's off to everybody in the military currently, veterans, everybody. Thank you so much for your courage and your sacrifice. Like I said, you're a better person than me. You have more courage than me, and I cannot thank you enough for what you do for this country and the sacrifices that you have made and will continue to make. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be back with another preview later today. I'm going to do two preview videos today for you guys, so I have another one uploaded later. But thanks for watching, and have a good morning.